Wellers. Now that we learned which foods have carbohydrates in them, let's talk a little bit about the glycemic index. The glycemic index, I know it sounds like a scary word, but don't worry. It's really just a measure of how quickly your food turns into sugar in your blood. That's the name of the game for many of us with a little bit of a slower metabolism, insulin resistance, other conditions, and of course diabetes. So if you're looking at which foods digest and absorb most quickly into your body, you're going to be looking at, because those are the foods that are going to affect your blood sugar the fastest, okay? We don't want them to affect our blood sugar very quickly. We like a nice, steady blood sugar where we can. So eating foods that spike our blood sugar up quickly, whether or not we have diagnosed diabetes, this is true for all of us who have some level of insulin resistance, and anybody who's not a 15-year-old athlete has some level of insulin resistance. It's important to all of us. Right here, I've got all the carbohydrates, give or take, lined up the way that they are on the glycemic index. These foods are going to digest and absorb most quickly, affecting and driving up your blood sugar the fastest. These foods are going to be a little slower, okay? So let's look at each of them and discuss why, so that you can make the best choices while you're out there. I found this is sugar, that's going to digest and absorb the fastest, okay? But similar to sugar, foods made from white flour will digest and absorb at a rate that's almost as fast as sugar. So you're looking at pastas that are cooked thoroughly. Now I'm here in Virginia, and they cook pasta very, very thoroughly here. Now in Maryland, because it may be served a little bit more al dente, you might be looking at pasta being here. That's right, it will digest and absorb more slowly if it's cooked firm to tooth than it will if it's very thoroughly cooked. So if you can tolerate a little bit of crunch to your pasta, you might be able to reduce its impact on your blood sugar. Okay, so those of you who are checking your blood glucose can try that out and see how that works for you. Dried fruit is right up there with sugar. It's going to digest and absorb very quickly. Other fruits are going to digest and absorb fairly quickly depending on how much fiber is in that fruit. So a little clementine or something like that is mostly juice, okay? So that's going to drive up your blood sugar level as fast as sugar. Juice itself is right there with sugar as far as how quickly it drives up your blood sugar. So anything with a lot of juice is going to drive it up quickly. Banana, it doesn't have a huge amount of fiber in it, so this one is got a higher percentage of sugar. A smaller apple, and this is just over the small mark, this probably has about 20 grams of carbs. If the surface area of the flesh of the apple compared to the skin or the fiber matters when you pick out the apple. So that could go anywhere from here to here, depending on how much fiber is in that apple. So if you choose a smaller apple, you're improving the surface area of the skin compared to the flesh, and that's going to be a better choice for blood sugar. That's going to be a lower glycemic index carb versus one of these enormous, Honeycrisp apples or what have you, that is going to have a lower proportion of surface area of the skin versus the flesh. So that covers a little bit of a range. Not to be ignored, some of our processed foods here in the back are going to digest and absorb very quickly. So if you're shopping the interior aisles of your grocery store, you'll note that a lot of these items are going to fit on this side of the glycemic index. They're going to digest and absorb more quickly than other foods, okay? So keep that in mind. I have a piece of a flourless bread here, so that's going to be about the middle. Some of your other breads that have whole wheat flour are going to be closer to this side, okay? So your whole wheat breads, your made from flour, are going to be here closer to the side. Your white bread, again, is going to be all the way over here with your pasta and your sugar and your juice. Other grains and things that can also be in the interior aisles of the grocery store, but maybe not a bad choice or a bad aisle, are things like brown rice. Brown rice is here. White rice is going to be back over here. It's going to digest and absorb very quickly. Let me tell you a little bit about that. If you're using, just like the flourless bread, just like the rice, when it's whole grain, when it is completely intact, it has fiber, protein, and carbohydrate. Fiber, protein, and carbohydrate together are going to reduce the speed at which your blood sugar rises after eating. If you have white bread, white flour, if you have white rice, the bran and fiber have been stripped from that grain. Now that item will now rise your blood sugar level up significantly. So it's a little bit of a difference there if you're talking about a whole grain versus a non-whole grain, okay? Quinoa, on that note, is a grain that has more fiber and more protein. So it's going to be a little further down the glycemic index. Some of our soups, and they're all different, it's going to depend a lot. Some soups are going to have lots of noodles, which are over here. This one is made from black beans and vegetables. This is going to be a little lower on the glycemic index. Rolled oats or steel cut oats are both on the a little lower on the glycemic index. Beans have a wild rice here that is got very little of the endosperm part of the grain. It's mostly grain and fiber, which is mostly protein and fiber. And then our black soybean, which is mostly protein and a little bit of carbohydrate. These items are going to digest and absorb slower than these items, okay? So these items are going to be better for managing our metabolic conditions, for losing weight, and for increasing the amount of fiber in our diets. Whew, that was a lot. Don't worry, I'm going to break a lot of these down in the next videos. See you then.